The story begins with our protagonist being sent to another world, and he ends up even having a face quite different from his as soon as he arrives in this new world. He becomes very confused and does not know what is happening. He was a university student who had a bright future, but now he was sent to ancient China. When he least expects it, a beautiful waifu is preparing to be able to do her needs. He watches that scene and his cheeks become blushed. To his surprise, she was going to pee right on top of him. Our hero ends up screaming and the girl is startled by that. She uses a power and flies far away from there. The memories of this body begin to arrive in his mind, and he realizes that in fact this body belonged to the prince of this country. This prince had been born as a common person, and because he was an orphan child, he ended up being adopted by the royal court. The child had much future in cultivation and ended up becoming a very powerful warrior. Finally, he ended up marrying the princess. After the honeymoon, the princess made a scheme on the boy and ended up stealing all his cultivation. Finally, the poor guy was exiled and killed, left abandoned in the middle of the forest. Until our hero ended up dying there in his world and was teleported into the body of this prince. Like a true shameless one, he wished he had been teleported to the wedding night with the princess. The guy is not dumb, right? To his unhappiness, that girl came back flying saying that she would kill him, calling him a spy for having spied on her when she was going to do her needs. You will see that this guy only has bad luck. Right at the beginning, he already got into big trouble. The girl keeps calling him shameless since he was spying on her, but our hero keeps apologizing, saying that this was not his intention. Since he had the prince's memories, he uses a crest and reveals his identity. But the girl does not seem to believe him much. At this time we see what is the system of this work. Everything works based on an acting. The more he lies and acts, the more points he gains. This way he becomes more powerful. You can already see that it was a type of system perfect for our protagonist. His name is Chu, and he is very much a liar. He uses his tricks to deceive everyone, and with that he gains points. He keeps pretending that he is the prince, and the girl even starts to believe him a little. However, he keeps boasting a lot and ends up exaggerating. The girl already suspects that in fact he is a liar and nothing more than a fraud. I do not believe in you, you are a fraud. Ah, then come at me. What do you think, shorty? He calls the girl for a fight and starts to laugh like a madman. She already thinks that he is shameless because his acting is so good he earned extra points. He realizes that this system is perfect for him since he is a born liar. As he had managed to deceive the girl, he ended up gaining a gift. When clicking to open, it was a magic pill with 10,000 experience points. The guy also gained a divine escape talisman that he could use to escape from any situation. Lastly, he obtained the ancestral art of the 5 elements. The guy was already absurd right at the beginning. He starts laughing like an idiot and uses the pill to gain experience points and level up. After boasting, saying that he will become more and more powerful, she realizes that this guy is inventing this story and goes at him. However, our hero was already very annoyed and manages to block the girl's attack. You will see how wrong this protagonist is. He ends up trapping her using a spell, and the girl stays motionless on the ground without being able to do anything. You said that I was shameless? I will show you what shameless is now. He goes at the girl. But luckily for the girl, her clan arrives to save her right at this time. The clan leader starts calling him trash, and our protagonist is already dying of fear of her. The old woman seems to have a very broken power. She launches a fire ray and starts to chase him. However, he was already at a very high level and manages to dodge the blows. The other members of the clan ask who is this boy capable of dodging the elder's attack. They say that apparently he must be at level 10 of the refinement stage and probably is a powerful warrior. The girl's name is Julia, and she tries to explain to the elder leader that the boy proclaimed himself prince of the country. But they do not seem to believe much in this and tell the girl that it is a lie. She swears that it is true, saying that he even showed the totem. Oh my daughter, so young and so stupid. Take this magic rope here and go imprison him. I will show you that this boy is only lying. Julia takes the rope that the elder gave her and goes to try to capture the kid, since supposedly he is a liar. She tries to capture him using this magic rope, and it really seems that the rope is very powerful because it is giving Qingwei trouble. As a last resort, he sees himself forced to use the teleport talisman, otherwise he would be captured by the girl. As soon as he uses the spell, everyone keeps wondering what kind of warrior this is. They already think that the kid is absurdly strong because he managed to dodge all the attacks and even disappear. The girl keeps thinking about our hero since she became a little bit in love with him. Qingwei thought that this was his lucky day. He had fallen right into the clan's treasure deposit. He sees all those rare items and already feels tempted, feeling the desire to steal them. Not steal them, borrow them, better saying. He is a real trickster and starts to select the rarest items and the ones that look more expensive. I bet that if it were you there, you would also take all these items. I am sure, to increase the efficiency of the system. He still had a kind of inventory. He starts to throw all the items inside there. His inventory was quite complete, and he manages to separate the most expensive items from the cheaper ones. However, since he was still a beginner, the inventory soon became full. He could not take more items. While he selected some extra elixir pills, one of the clan members ends up hearing the noise in the warehouse and goes there to check. When the little guard arrives there, our hero had taken all the elixirs and the guy ends up catching him in the act. The guy already draws his sword and points at him, asking what he is doing inside the sacred warehouse. He had taken all those elixirs and the power flowed in his body. He was with cultivation almost at the maximum. However, this opponent was quite powerful and almost manages to cut his belly. But since he had taken all those potions, he was quite confident, so our hero charges at him. In the middle of the way, he feels a very strong pain in his chest. It was the side effects of the elixirs. The human body only supported half a dose of elixir, and he had taken all the bottles. This symbolized that he could already order the wooden suit because he would not survive. The system detected that he had ingested a very high amount of ki. To be able to survive, he would have to activate the self-repair. But this self-repair required a charge of 1 of experience. So basically, he would keep consuming his experiences in order not to die. He ends up activating this. Another way would be to use his acting points to buy the book called Ancestral Arts of the 5 Elements. If he managed to learn this technique, his body would become stronger and he would not die. However, this book cost 100 acting points and he did not have the necessary score to buy. So basically, he was screwed. He was going to die anyway. That guard realizes that our hero is in a hopeless situation and offers him a dignified death. He would end all the suffering of Qingwei. However, our hero would not admit losing that easily. Since he had just stopped in this world and it was not even 5 minutes, he was already all messed up. So he simply acts like a madman and ends up exploding himself. The little guard does not understand anything. The scene cuts and we see that Qingwei had not died. In fact, he had used that other teleport talisman. He was quite injured and ended up activating the self-repair. Now he was losing acting points and also experience points to recover the body, since he had taken those powerful elixirs. A message appears saying that death is imminent, that is, even using these points, he would not survive. With this, he ends up gaining a book written Destruction of the Meridians. Qingwei starts thinking that it is the system trying to sabotage his life. If he used this book and learned the technique, break the meridians, he would manage to surpass the limits of the body. But there were great chances of dying, since he was all messed up, he had no other option. So he ends up deciding to read this book, learn the technique and break all his meridians, in order to surpass the limits of the body and not die because of the excessive ki of the elixirs. After doing this, he ends up fainting. When he wakes up, he is in a very simple house. His body was all injured, looked like a mummy, all bandaged. However, to make the day better, a beautiful little waifu ends up appearing. She is one of those with colored hair that we like. The girl says she had gone up the mountains to gather some herbs and ended up finding him covered in blood. He was quite injured. So she ran to the village to ask for help to come back there and bring him to her house, to be able to take care of his wounds. The girl is quite beautiful and kind. Qingwei falls all in love right away. He asks where he is. The girl says that the name of the village is Panchan. Qin did not want to act like an idiot. It looked like he had only been injured. So he keeps telling some little lies, saying that he went to hunt several wolves and in the end defeated the whole pack, but ended up getting hurt. Ah, how strange. I live here since I was little and never saw any wolf in this mountain. Ah, it's true. Well, it's that the wolves came from another mountain, then I followed them until I stopped here. Well, that's really what happened. The important thing is that, when I was about to die, a beautiful maiden appeared to save me. Qin is good with words and starts flirting with the girl. She becomes all in love. Her name is Sophia. The protagonist says that she is a fairy and a princess. This makes the girl run away in embarrassment, as he had acted saying that he killed several wolves. He ends up gaining some acting points. When he opens the system window, he realizes that he is losing a lot of experience points and also acting points, since he used the self-repair mode. However, his body seemed to have been healed. That was because of the meridians he managed to break. After using the points that remained to heal himself, his body is completely renewed. To his surprise, at that moment, Sophia ends up coming back into the room and finds him without clothes. Calm down, Sophia. That was not what you were thinking. To the misfortune of our hero, everyone already starts to think that he is shameless. Not that he is not, of course. He wraps himself in the blanket, and the girl comes back to see what was happening. He asks her to bring some clothes. The girl says she will come back quickly. However, 10 minutes had already passed, and she had still not come back. The guy was already thinking that she went to call for help to try to beat him. When he goes outside to check, the village was completely empty. A group of very simple farmers passes on the street and asks him to go inside. However, he thinks that these people came to make trouble with him, and already starts swearing and showing the middle finger to them. In fact, the village was being attacked by a monster. These farmers were only worried, since they knew our hero because they helped rescue him from the mountain the previous night. They run off to fight the monster. Our protagonist starts looking for some clothes in Sophia's drawer. The only thing he finds is a little speedo. So he wears the speedo and puts the blanket as if it were a cape. He is quite fast since he possesses the 5 fundamental elements. As soon as he arrives there, the monster really is very strong. It was a mix of tiger with bull, so the name was Tiger Bull. Like a true superhero, he keeps telling the villagers to stay away from the monster, because he will save them. Nobody was putting much trust in him since he was dressed like an idiot. Even Sophia did not put much faith in our hero and told him to retreat because he was injured. Even the village chief tries to stop him. "Look, my young man, you will not be able to defeat this monster. You are quite injured. Do not say that to a hero. I fought against 100 wolves last night, but wait, wasn't it 10 wolves? Yeah, that's it." At that moment, the tiger bull ends up throwing a spear at the villagers. I don't know how, and even injures some. Sophia puts herself in front of the little children to protect them. When everything seemed over, our hero runs there and lands a powerful blow on the monster. After hitting the beast, he ends up grabbing it by the throat and keeps boasting to Sophia. He tells the tiger to go pick coconuts and already lands a kick on its face, launching the poor guy far away. The little creature just wanted to devour some humans, and they keep disturbing the poor thing's meal. Each little lie he tells, Chinwe ends up gaining acting points. He ends up getting addicted to lying. All the time he tells a random story. He knew that monster was quite powerful and needed to defeat it with a single attack. Because if he took too long to defeat the monster, he would end up losing to it. So because of that, he charges a punch and hits right in the middle of the belly. With that, the monster flies far away. His hand gets filled with ki and everyone realizes that he is not a normal person. That was the legendary hero of the legends told in the village. With that, he ends up leveling up. Everyone lifts him up and starts calling him a hero, saying he was sent by the heavens to help the poor village. As he was wearing only a little thong, the girls become completely in love. Sophia doesn't know where to put her face, since the underwear was hers. The girl runs out and gives him some clothes so he can cover himself. Even a shameless old lady who was there keeps praising our hero for wearing such a thong. Imagine the trend he started in the village. Now all the grown men will wear thongs like his. The guy is the Chinese Tarzan, after he gives an explanation that he only put on those clothes because he had no other. He ends up running away in embarrassment. At the end of the afternoon, he is bathing in some bad water and reflecting a little about how this system works. That really seemed to be a video game. There was even a shop for weapons, armor, and skills. For him to get a truly relevant power, he needed to gather plenty of acting points. He wished to buy the art of the Black Ice Sword, but he didn't have enough points and ended up buying the skill of the Earthquake Fist element, which was quite powerful, although not ideal. The guy puts on his clothes and climbs a tree to eat an apple. Another surprise is that the skills available in the system were exactly the same as the characters he read about in light novels in the real world. Those skills weren't that expensive, they cost from 10 to 20 points. With that, he ends up buying the transformations of the Rising Dragon, which cost 20 acting points. The dragon's skill is transmuted inside his body. This skill was very powerful, and he feels his body a little lighter. The sensation is that he was already born with this power. That meant that he had a great level of similarity with the skill. Now he was becoming a true hero and no longer a joker who only told lies. After using it, his score had 5 points left and he decided to save them in case he needed later. As he was progressing quite a lot, he had gained another gift. He even imagined it would be a bodyguard or a very beautiful and powerful girl. However, to his surprise, upon opening the box he gained a new function, the recycling skill. This leaves him quite disappointed, and he even ends up asking the system what the hell that skill did. It was quite complex, but he manages to understand more or less why he was in the prince's body and all the memories had passed to his mind. With that, he knew who the emperor of the country was and what his cultivation level was. This recycling skill was nothing more than the ability to select such items and transform them into acting points. He could also use other items, recycle them, and transfer these skills to other items. It was also possible to rank up using this skill. It was much better than he imagined and gave the possibility of becoming an overpowered guy if he knew how to use it, of course. Finally, he decides to close the windows because he was getting a little confused, but he already understood that if he used this skill well, he would become the strongest in the country quite quickly. He could keep taking weak items, put them in recycling mode, and transfer the experience points to himself. This way he would evolve astronomically. He stops by a lake to wash his face and realizes that appearance is the prince's, even feeling a little sorry for him since he was betrayed by the princess and killed by his father. As soon as he returns to the village, he notices that Sophia is putting the clothes away and asks to let him help. At that moment, a very loud noise echoes through the village and he goes out to see what is happening. In fact, a village on the other side of the mountain came just to cause trouble. They were saying that the bull tiger they had defeated belonged to the other side of the mountain. The farmers argue that this monster appeared in their village and therefore they had the right to keep the carcass. This happens because the monster's meat and fur were worth quite a lot of money and the guys wanted to steal the carcass. However, the people of this village pay a very high tribute to a ruler and fear that if they take the monster's body, they will not be able to exchange it for enough money to pay the tribute, so they would be screwed. The bully doesn't care about anything and says he will take it anyway, and with that a battle begins to see who keeps the bull tiger. This bully seems to be quite strong and ends up hurting the poor guy. The troublemaker is called Ma Ball and his henchmen keep mocking the people he had defeated. But what they did not expect is that the badass of our protag was there to protect the village. He says that Panchen village is not a place for messing around and that he will destroy them. The bully asks if our hero wants to be defeated, and in response the protagonist says he came only to take out the trash. The guy is way too fierce and tells the other farmers to gather the wounded, because the fight is about to begin. He calls those slackers trash, and Ball already charges forward using his most powerful strike. Our hero is very pissed off, he is tough as nails and starts dodging all the attacks. Even though Ball tries hard, he cannot even get close to our hero. Because of that, Ball goes overboard and uses the art of the fierce windblade, destroying a large part of the ground. Sophia arrives and cannot believe the fight is happening. She realizes the levels are like she had never seen before. When Ball notices Sophia, he falls in love and says he will take her away. However, our hero does not let that happen. Don't lay a finger on Sophia. He already throws a punch in the face of the bastard and makes him fly far away. He tells Sophia not to be afraid and that he will teach this troublemaker a lesson. Ball wanted to test the 9 transformations of the rising dragon and never imagined being able to use the technique so soon since he had just learned it. With that, he uses the first form Dragon Fist, and when the guy charges at him, he already applies the feral dragon punch and the man is simply disintegrated. Not a single strand of hair is left to tell the story. Huh? What do you mean? I already defeated him. Chinwee's key was way too absurd. He was very angry and defeated the guy with a single blow. Those people watching ask forgiveness from our protag, dying of fear, and Chin does not understand anything of what is happening. The people ask him to forgive and even prostrate themselves in devotion. He asks Sophia what is happening, and she says that in truth he is an immortal. He swears no, that he is just a human like everyone else. She tells that the village has to pay tributes every month. There exists a sect called Celestial Sect that always demands food. If they cannot give the tribute, they take people from the village, and those people are never seen again. They do not know if they are alive or dead. Coincidentally, that sect is the same that caused trouble on the day he ended up in this world. And to make it worse, those people were after him and even spreading posters in the villages of the region. The farmers, simple ones, come to Chinwee and say that the people are looking for him. Boy, you won't believe it. The immortals are after you. They are walking around with faces exactly like your neighbors. Everything already discovered. At that instant, our protag realizes that those people followed him and already discovered that he is in this village. Sophia says that they need to hide him in the basements. Otherwise, the clan's people will kill him. Since he had already saved the village several times, Sophia ensures that now they need to return the favor and put their lives in danger to save the protagonist. With that, the people of the Celestial Sect arrive in the village and gather all the residents in the town square. They ask the villagers where the boy from the poster is, and they swear they have never seen that face. Their leader summons a sword and threatens, if they do not tell the truth, they will suffer the consequences. The leader of the village says he has not seen the boy. After those words, the man simply slices the old man in half, sending him to Kingdom Come. We see that the people of this clan are quite bloodthirsty, and they forgive no one, already cutting everyone there to pieces. Our hero is dragged by Sophia to the lower part of the city. He keeps hearing the cries for help and feels bad for running away. The girl says that they need to get out of there and assures that the villagers will be fine. However, he keeps hearing the desperate screams of the villagers and says that he cannot run away. If I leave like a coward, I will not be able to consider myself a real man. When the people were about to receive another wave of sword strikes, he steps in front to protect them. All those strikes end up stopping on his back. He had done a good deed, and with that earned 50 points. It was not only the lies that gave him extra points, but also good deeds. The shameless clan leader says that if our hero had arrived earlier, several lives would have been spared. He gets really pissed, saying that cultivators do not kill innocents, and that trash people like them should be eliminated. We know that our protagonist is mad, but is it enough to defeat them? With that, he uses the recycling technique and ends up recycling an item he had kept. He transfers the score to his skill of the 9 transformations of the rising dragon and prepares a powerful attack. That little guard who had caught our hero stealing the flasks asks the leader to handle the situation and charges forward. Our protagonist lands just one knee in his chest and already sends the guy to Kingdom Come. For having defeated the opponent, he earns 8,000 experience points. The companions cannot believe he was defeated so easily and charge to attack our protagonist. Ah, so you're coming too at the same time? Then come at me, no problem. You can come. He uses the Rising Dragon transformation, strike of electric energy, and defeats 2 cultivators with ease. With that, he had already sent 3 guys straight to the grave, earning 10,000 points from each one. The other cultivators of the Celestial Sect start trembling in fear, and one of them says he will return to headquarters to ask for help. However, our protagonist says he will not allow it, and ends up chasing them. The people of the Celestial Sect tremble in fear of our hero. He says he does not need to use his maximum power to defeat them all. Because of that, he uses a lightning technique and electrocutes them, getting even more pissed. The squad leader tries to sweet talk, saying that if our hero lets him out alive, he will ally with him. However, Qinhui does not fall for that talk and finishes the guy in a brutal way. For defeating this leader, he earns 20,000 experience points, advancing a lot in his cultivation. When he returns to the village, he finds Sophia crying. She was sad because several villagers had died. He feels guilty as he thought about running while the people sacrificed themselves to save him. They tell him not to blame himself, since the people of the sect would kill everyone anyway. Because of this, Qin decides that he will stay in the village and protect everyone, as he knew that many enemies would come looking for him from then on. The next day they bury the dead villagers, and he had already accumulated 185 acting points. For having accumulated points and experiences, Qin begins to devise a strategy to protect the village, since the sect would come in full force. It would not be viable to turn everyone into cultivators, so he thinks of another alternative. After reflecting a lot, he decides to buy a barrier for 55 acting points, and a devastating spell of the 4 Sis for 80 points. He planned to place the barrier in the village, and summon the 4 magical beings to fight against the invaders. After buying the spell, he ends up leveling up. With each passing day, our protagonist gets more pissed than ever. At that moment, Sophia appears saying that something terrible happened. Our protagonist does not have a second of peace. Seriously. She says that cultivators of the celestial sect had arrived from the other side of the mountain, and in a few hours would be in the village. However, there was terrible news. Among them was an extremely powerful guy. Sophia fears that our protagonist will die to him, so she insists that he run away and let the people handle the problem. Our hero places his hand on her head. I will fulfill the promise to protect the people. I will do everything to keep them safe. He notices that she is nervous and tells her again to trust him. Right after, he sets off to face the cultivators. Outside, he tells the villagers that he needs the blood of 4 animals: snake, tiger, bird, and turtle, that was necessary to summon the magical beasts. The people comment that getting tiger blood would be very difficult, but the other 3 were relatively easy. He replies that the tiger blood he will get himself. Right after, he says goodbye to Sophia, ready to face the cultivators. He spreads 4 totems around the area to summon the magic beasts and runs to the foot of the mountain to stop the cultivators. He was afraid they would soon reach the village and there would be no time to collect the blood, so he needed to delay them as much as possible. He starts making some jokes to buy time. The gang of rogues uses a power to see inside Qin and assess the stage of his core formation. They notice he has evolved a lot since the invasion of the palace. They think he has a very powerful master. The protagonist takes advantage of the gap and says that if they don't leave, his master, extremely powerful, will defeat them all. The celestial sect people ask who his master is. He replies that he will not say the name, but that if they don't stop tormenting the village, his master will defeat them without exception. They don't know if they should feel fear or laugh, doubting if he speaks the truth or lies. However, our hero was only buying time for the people to collect the blood of the animals. As soon as the people finish collecting, they wonder if Qin will really be able to protect them. Sophia believes in our hero and insists that everyone should also trust. When evening begins, he says he will return to the village to check on the people. The sect people get confused, asking what lightning technique he used to move. These techniques, in fact, he got thanks to the system. That's why they were unknown in that world. They had never seen anything like it. Is his master Don Jude? During my travels around the world, I met a master so powerful that he had abilities never seen on the continent. I am sure it is him, the master of this boy. The other clan members don't really believe that Don Jude is our hero's master and keep debating who this powerful master would be. Qin hunts another bull tiger to take its blood and completes the 4 bulls. He returns to the center of the small town and uses the inventory to store the jars, leaving the people scared because the blood disappeared. He goes to each of the totems and pours the bowl to complete the sacrifice. With this, the barrier is formed and the 4 beasts are already ready to be summoned to protect the city. The barrier looks very powerful and the people don't believe what they see. Qin tells the villagers not to worry, because now they are safe and those cultivators will never be able to break it. The guys get pissed off and start cursing, saying they will not accept being humiliated. When they are getting close to the barrier to break it, our hero simply appears, kicking one of them in the face. Oh my god, is his master Bruce Lee? No, my master is the ramen uncle. He already starts slicing everyone, making celestial sushi. They complain, saying he made a surprise attack, but when you are going to protect your house, you don't need to warn the thief before hitting him, right? Qin reveals that his goal is to defeat all the sect scoundrels. They laugh, thinking it is just a joke. The protagonist reinforces that he will eliminate everyone from the celestial sect. The guys burst out laughing, not believing. Listen here, boy, I can break this spell of yours in a snap. The guy gets full of himself and summons flaming swords to destroy the blue barrier. However, the power only makes noise and smoke, without even scratching the barrier. Our hero mocks him. What, weren't you going to break this barrier in a snap? The crybaby of their leader keeps saying that our protagonist is cheating. That was true, guys. He was not using the common spells of that world, but the system spells. To end the fun of these slackers, he ends up summoning a magic bird. They keep asking if that is the divine phoenix. In response, he says that in fact it is just a red sparrow, and says that this bunch of idiots is staining the reputation of the Celestial clan. Their leader becomes convinced that the giant bird is just an illusion and tells everyone to stand still, claiming that illusions cause no damage. With that, our protagonist orders the bird to attack, and it flies at great speed to burn them all. However, this crowd swears up and down that the bird is just an illusion and remains waiting for the attack. Unluckily for those cultivators, the bird was not an illusion and they end up catching fire. In the next wave of attack, they get a little smarter and use a barrier to protect themselves. In an attempt to escape, a turtle and a tiger appear from the sky to stop their escape. The guys were really screwed, and that tiger had the power to turn into a dragon. Wherever they tried to run, they were surrounded. With this, Chin only keeps accumulating experience points and getting stronger and stronger. One of the other leaders, bald and evil, says he will flee anyway and tries to use a spell to escape. However, Chin notices the spell and tries to stop him. In fact, these guys were cheaters. They were not trying to flee, they just wanted to draw the protagonist's attention to attack him from behind. Chin realizes this and says he will not let it slide, already charging a dragon strike in his fists. The blow is so powerful that it pins the guy's head to the ground. The bald guy realizes he cannot underestimate him. The bald one says that now is the right time to attack the village, since Chin would be without energy, as those magic beasts consume a lot of power. This would be the perfect chance to touch the barrier. From the moment they touch the blue barrier, they would be trapped by a spell. Chin pretends he doesn't want them to do it. At that moment, when they finally touch the barrier, a red light appears. Our protagonist smiles, for his plan had worked. That was the devastating spell of the four directions. They would be trapped for all eternity in a desert, walking in circles. With that, Chin had defeated all members of the Celestial sect. He gained more than 500,000 experience points. He ends up returning to the village to give the good news. He tells everyone that the enemies were defeated. The people start celebrating, all happy. Sophia smiles gratefully, and our protagonist gets all in love. Later, he starts counting all the points he gathered by defeating so many enemies. Now he could buy better equipment. He imagines himself in armor and sword facing all the evil enemies of this world. The system store was vast, with practically an infinite amount of items. With that, he buys the secret art of weapons, a skill to become a swordsman. Right after, he buys the heavy black sword. The guy was already getting absurd, looking like an RPG protagonist. For having bought that sword, he also gets the cloak and jokes that it is a buy one get one promotion. When I have time, I will parade with the cloak in front of the sect. Later, he takes a walk through the fields and realizes that he managed to fulfill his mission of keeping the village safe. He meets some villagers and asks where they are going. They needed to buy some things on the other side of the mountain, in a small commercial town. He offers to go in their place, as they could be in danger if they encountered members of the Celestial sect. At that moment, Sophia appears and asks him to bring some cloths, as she would make new clothes for him. The protagonist says he will buy for her. A romantic atmosphere rolls between them. Chin arrives at the other village to buy the items for the villagers. He notices that the place is quite busy. He ends up meeting Julia, the same girl who almost peed on him. He is enchanted, for the girl is really beautiful. At that moment, she senses the presence of someone very powerful. Our protagonist was so strong that everyone feels his presence. Because of this, they comment that it must be the invader who invaded the castle. They even say that he is Duan Duge's apprentice, false news that spreads quickly. Everyone truly believes that he is an apprentice of this legendary master. Back at the Celestial clan, they comment about the protagonist and his deeds spreading to other clans. They begin to worry about the sect's reputation. They decide they need to capture the protagonist, as he is causing terror. However, the clan leader is wise and knows that Chin is very powerful and must not be underestimated. He orders that they bring him to talk. If he only apologized, they would be left in peace. The other cultivators think this is absurd, want to punish Chin more severely. Even the old woman from the beginning of the story insists they cannot forgive him. She comments that he is a liar, saying that when he first appeared in the forest, he claimed to be the prince. Besides that, he tried to do several wrong things with Julia, and you can imagine what, right? For being a boastful liar, they could not believe he was a student of that legendary master, the famous Duan Duge. Because of that, the old woman keeps saying that they must kill our protagonist. However, another elder argues that Duan Duge really did evil things, so probably the boy was his apprentice. Therefore, they should not mess too much with him, since the legendary master had enough power to destroy the Celestial clan. Amidst this discussion to decide what to do with the boy, the clan leader says to call him to talk the next day. When the boy arrived, he would decide what to do. The scene cuts and we see that our hero bought all the items and will take them back to the village. When he approaches the village, he finds a group of Celestial sect apprentices. They say that the clan leader sent a message inviting him to go to the palace and resolve the conflicts. Our protagonist thanks for the invitation and says he will attend. The bald guy asks if he knows the way to the clan. He replies that he knows especially the way to the treasure room, since he had teleported there and stolen several items. He delivers the cloths to Sophia so that she can make his clothes. She comments that the fabric is very beautiful and that he will look handsome in the new clothes. She gives the compliment half unintentionally, and he pats her head, praising her and saying she is very cute. He tells her that he will go to the celestial sect to talk to the leader and resolve all the conflicts. She gets quite worried, telling him not to go alone, because there it would be like entering a lion's den, very dangerous. The protagonist trusts his abilities and asks Sophia to also trust him, assuring that he will return safely. When he returns, he will wear the clothes she is making for him. Chin arrives at the celestial sect to talk to the leader. As soon as he arrives, everyone was waiting, making ugly faces, for they detest the protagonist. The leader introduces himself as Zhang Dan Chan, and says he invited Chin to resolve the conflict between them. The old woman already accuses Chin of having stolen treasures and eliminated disciples. Our protagonist, a charlatan, says that this is a lie, and that they have no right to accuse him. He still states that the Celestial Clan had eliminated elders and people from Panchan village, so they had no authority to say anything. A general argument begins. The protagonist turns and says that he will not negotiate with them. He declares that his legendary master will personally come to talk to the Celestial Sect leader. When he mentions his master, the Celestial Clan leader gets terrified. The only one who does not believe is the annoying old woman, who insists that the protagonist is lying and has no legendary master. Another cultivator runs out and says that the leader wishes to resolve the conflict, and he should not act so hot-headed. Chin decides to go back inside and talk a little more. The leader says that just apologizing is enough, and so he will leave Panchan village in peace. He will no longer charge tribute nor try to take revenge. However, if the protagonist does not apologize, he will use a spell to undo the barrier and attack the village. Chin asks if he is being threatened. The clan leader replies that he is not. Chin says it is impossible to apologize, because his master taught him that he must never apologize. Therefore, the most he would do is pay for a dinner for the people, and that is exactly what happens to make peace. He holds a banquet for the celestial sect. The shameless old woman does not accept the peace agreement. She orders a disciple to go to the spell room to fetch the seal that undoes barriers. She says the leader was reckless for accepting the lies of a charlatan, and that she would not let it go. That old woman is terrible, and the outcome of what she does shows it. While Chin enjoys the banquet, he notices that the people are quite brown-nosing. Shortly after, the clan leader goes to speak with him, asking about his master. Chin says he met Don Duoj a long time ago. He makes small talk, saying he has a magic seal that allows summoning the master at any moment. He says this to frighten the people, and it works. They become fearful of acting wrongly. After a long time at the dinner, Chin decides to return to Panchan village. On the way, he feels that something is wrong. He does not know if it was some poison in the food or just a bad premonition. Julia and the other cultivators were going to Panchan village. On the way, the clan leader warned that they should return. However, they observe that the forest around the village is on fire. They decide to go down to see what is happening. The barrier was broken and the residents are being attacked. Julia asks what they are doing to the innocent residents. They attack the girl. At that moment, Chin arrives and sees that the village is in flames. He runs desperately looking for Sophia. He defeats several invaders. At that moment, he hears Sophia's desperate cry and realizes she is coming toward him. Unexpectedly, she is struck from behind. Chin, enraged, tries to protect her, but there is not enough time. The wound is deep and she gradually loses energy. He tries to talk to the system, asking if there is any method to heal the girl. However, it was still at a low level, and the system says it needs to update to check if there is enough power. He begins to cry and Sophia tries to calm him. She smiles and says that having an end in Chin's arms was the best she could imagine. Before departing, she declares her feelings to the protagonist. She says she liked him since she saw him in the forest. There she realized it was love. She laments not having finished the clothes in time, and would like to see him wearing the new outfit. Her last words, the best days of her life were with the protagonist. Thus, Sophia says goodbye to Chin. He cries a lot, saying he was not strong enough to protect her. Julia was fighting the invaders on the other side of the village. At that moment, she senses someone very powerful approaching. The system says it is not self-sufficient to look for methods to resurrect the dead, and so he needed to update the system. Since he had never updated before, the first update would be free, and he starts the system evolution. He promises Sophia that he will avenge her death and massacre all the enemies who invaded Panchan village. As soon as the system updates, he buys an item called Storage Dagger. That item would store the girl's soul so that in the future, when he had sufficient level, he could resurrect her body. Julia appears and remembers our hero, saying he was the shameless one she had met in the village days ago. He asks her who is responsible for the attack, and she says it is the Fallen Spirit sect, which is to the west. Our protagonist goes to that clan and upon arriving eliminates all the members who were outside. The leader of that sect asks who this boy is who arrived attacking his clan. Our hero says he will avenge everything they did and eliminate each one of them. There begins an intense fight between our protagonist and all the other members. The leader uses the Black Flame Dragon Explosion, a very powerful attack. That flaming smoke dragon was truly incredible. However, our hero was at a much higher level than them, and without much difficulty begins to defeat them one by one. The leader uses another technique called Crimson Sword, summoning several energy swords to eliminate the protagonist. However, Chin had learned the secret art of weapons technique and manages to block those swords. The leader does not understand how Chin managed to redirect the swords, and now his own spell turned against him. Before he could be eliminated, he reveals that the whole attack was orchestrated, and the Celestial Sect had hired them to carry out the invasion. I told you that that old woman would give a lot of trouble. He reveals to the protagonist that she had hired them in exchange for magical elixirs. However, our hero does not want to hear anything, and finishes off all the members of the Western Spirit Sect. For having defeated an entire clan, he ends up leveling up and gains 200,000 experience points. Now he advanced to level 7 in the foundation of the core stage. He had copied the Crimson Sword technique and finally finishes eliminating all the other members. He knew that to avenge the Celestial Sect, he needed to level up, so he decides to get stronger and return to finish the job. He would not let that woman go unpunished, since she had killed the girl he loved. He had gained several techniques, one of them called Melted Green Lotus Flame and also Burning Lotus of Buddha. Later on you will see how overpowered this technique is. He returns to Panchan village and buries all the people, including Sophia's body. He removes the ribbon that held her hair and places it on the grave of the girl he loves. He says that soon he will be able to revive her, but first he will return to the Celestial Sect to finish the job. He will not wait to become stronger, for his heart burned with thirst for vengeance. The people of the clan notice that someone is approaching, and the power emanated is very great. Chin had returned, and that old woman already knew what it was about. He had gathered all the bodies of the people from the Western Sect and threw them into the Celestial City. As soon as the bodies fall to the ground, he gains several acting points. I want Zhang Danan and Sun to come out of there immediately. If they don't show up, I will destroy the entire Celestial Sect. The cultivators find it absurd that Chin shows up there and threatens the Great Elder and also the leader of the Celestial Clan, Elder Sum. She argues with the leader about what she did, and he discovers that she broke the barrier and hired another clan to wipe out the village. She says that Chin would not discover it, and besides, the attacked were only insects, people without value, so there would be no problem in eliminating them. They hear that Chin is outside, and the elder wishes to go defeat him. However, the leader is dying of fear because he heard from the protagonist himself that if struck he could summon his great master. The protagonist was defeating several student cultivators, and as we see, he is very angry. His cultivation level was very high, and he knew he could take revenge. Several cultivator leaders of the clan were defeated. The supreme leader arrives and sees the scene, becoming very surprised. They say that Chin is a monster thirsty for blood. Our hero asks if they know who ordered the attack on Panchan village. He reveals to everyone that it was that old woman and calls her wretched, to try to make peace and ensure they would not be beaten. The old woman offers a spiritual liquid. She says the potion is worth a lot of money and offers that he enter the sacred warehouse, choosing any item he wants. The goal was to try to make peace with Chin. However, our hero wants nothing, he only wants revenge and breaks the vial. The old woman becomes angry, saying that it was worth a lot of money. The leader asks what he wants. Enraged, Chin says that the only thing he wants is revenge. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Upon saying this, the other apprentice cultivators don't know if he is really powerful or just insane. He says this in front of the great leader, trusting in the power of the 9 transformations of the rising dragon. He prepares a powerful attack to eliminate the old woman. At the last instant, the great leader blocks Chin's attack. He ends up very injured, as the barrier served as a repellent and caused damage to his strike. At that moment, our protagonist realizes that this leader is extremely powerful. His cultivation stage was 2 levels above Chin's. The leader says that he almost killed his friend, that old lady, and that therefore he should stop trying to eliminate the other members of the sect. The protagonist becomes angry since that old woman killed everyone he knew. To heal himself, he activates the self-repair mode in his defense. Sum the elder says that the people who died in Panchan village were beings worse than insects and that their lives were worth nothing. In response, Chin says that their lives are worth much more than that lazy old woman's, and that for this reason he would never forgive her. Besides committing absurd and horrible acts, she felt no remorse, making it clear to him and to the other students that what they were doing was not right. At this moment, he begins to use the technique he had learned, very powerful. He concentrates all his cultivation power in the palm of his hand and begins to form a cold flame. That was the freezing fire, and not even the leader of that clan had knowledge of a technique at this level. In the other hand, he creates the melted green lotus. By uniting the 2 flames, he begins to create a new spell. The explosion is gigantic, and the leader is surprised, as he had never seen such power. By fusing the 2 elements, he creates the Lotus of Flame of Buddha, a legendary level magic. With this, he launches the flower at the old woman and orders it to explode. The explosion of the spell has catastrophic consequences and the entire city of the Celestial Clan is razed. Amid the flames, few cultivators manage to survive. Several notification windows appear to our hero, showing that he gains a lot of experience and acting points. He feels a little satisfaction for having avenged himself, but he could not bring back Sophia, the girl he loved. At that moment, the leader of the sect was still alive and charges forward, trying to attack the protagonist. He had kept some teleportation seals and uses them to escape. He says that next time he meets Zhang Dan Chan, leader of the Celestial Clan, he will defeat him. Showing the middle finger, he leaves the guy. He becomes very irritated and frustrated, saying that during the 5,000 years of existence of the clan, he had never been so humiliated as on that day. Thus, Keen manages to avenge the death of his beloved. Thus, we finish the first part of this work. If you want part 2, comment down here for us. Each comment you leave makes YouTube understand that the channel is relevant and recommend it to more people. Therefore, your like and comment are very important. Other than that, that's it. Thanks and see you later, folks.